Hey, it's Classicola. I just want to make a video about some of the tips and general play styles I use to get to Masters rank 6 in North America. In the background, I just have one of the games from my climb to Masters that really showcased a lot of the strategies that I'll talk about throughout this video. Uh, it was a rough early game as well. I even misplayed a bit, but you can see how I transitioned and how I played throughout the whole game. First thing is sharing units. In a lot of games, every player is going to be grabbing almost every assassin they see, and people grab Akali no matter what. And you can't rely on these shared units like Akali 2 or Z3, or you won't beat that one guy in the lobby who didn't choose those units and instead went for his own, Morgana 3 or maybe an Aatrox or Glacial's Volibear is more likely. Assassins and brawlers are pretty much just overpowered. Everyone's going to be picking them almost all the time, but it is still really easy to hit your 2 stars of those 2 and 3 cost. RekSai, Volibear even, with how high priority he is still really easy to 2-star. You still see a 3-star Volibear almost every game. A lot of people, including myself, even in their Volibear comp, and I think this is kind of the Josh OG comp, is to pick up Akali's anyways in your comp. And once you hit Akali 2, you can throw in Khazix for 3 voids, because you also have the RekSai ChoGath, and any other assassin, usually Pyke, and boom, you have Akali on her own, just 1 ninja, with 3 assassin passive. And that's really why brawlers are so strong, is that with 4 brawlers, you don't even need to hit your synergies. You don't need to hit ChoGath too. You can survive with all level 1 units and keep your econ not wasted on rolls, while all of the ninja players are rolling and leveling up frantically trying to hit their Akali too. In addition to your 4 brawler Volibear comp. If you hit a brand early game instead of the Akali, you hit him before Akali, or before Cho'Gath, you hit transition into like a Kennen Lissandra brand mid-game Elementalist build with Volibear synergizing with the Lissandra, one other brawler, and you can basically survive with Elementalist Golem carrying you, but it does fall off pretty harshly pretty quick. There's a lot of ideas on what the best comp is, but my personal pick, which will be in the description, is Volibear, Cho'Gath, RekSai, Blitz, Kha'Zix, Pyke, Akali, and 8th, if you get there, Sejuani. And for early game, just pick up Knights for tanks, but you're always selling them. Warwick is one card you can get early that still lasts quite late game. There are a huge amount of other usable units, but I'd stick to Brawlers, Assassin, Elementalist, Demon, Glacials, and Guardians for a bit, for the most part. Gunslingers are usually a trap, and you will not win the game unless you roll very good items as gunslingers, in my experience. Also, there's certainly a lot of high-ranked people that can make Yordle comps work. I am not one of them. Fuck that shit. Also, Rangers suck. Now that you know what units you're looking for, you can focus more on the metagame itself, econ, that sort of stuff. And currently the game goes very quick. You want to be leveling constantly, and I'll go over that in detail. Basically, not losing HP is very important right now. You don't want to die before you have a solid chance to hit a level 7 comp and maybe a few rerolls after that. Building items fast at the first few rounds of the game and making efficient items is the most important thing, more important than any unit choice for keeping your HP up. The 3 best items you can get for round 1 that I'll make almost any time I can are Locket, obviously, Ionic Spark, and Zeke's Herald. Note that if you manage to get 2 bows at the start of the game, you could put a rapid fire cannon on any unit that you know is going to be an early game carry, like Cassidon 2 or Fiora 2, Vayne if you pick Vayne for some horrible reason. You can just throw the RFC on them and sell it later for your Volibear. Some other okay items early game, but I would never go out of your way. Kind of desperation items are stuff like Gunblade on an Aatrox, or even Death Cap on a Varus in the back, or this one I don't like very much anymore because it uses a recurve bow, but Phantom Dancer on a Garen, or Guardian Angel. You can use those items early game just to push those matchups which you wouldn't normally win into wins. Another thing you can do that requires, no good units or anything, it'll make you win early game, is leveling up as soon as you can. Those first 2 rounds when you are level 3, one of those 2 rounds you want to level up to level 4 when you have the gold. And then personally, you can kind of judge how the lobby's going, how your game's going, but in 90% of my games, I'd say I will level up again a few turns after that when I'm at 6 out of 10 XP, and then again several turns after that when I'm at 10 out of 18 XP. In the meantime, just buy every single character that you know is good. You're not buying Mordekaiser. Buy every single one you can while still staying within those income thresholds. Knowing when to sell to hit an income threshold is a little harder, it's a little riskier, but you'll get a feel for it. Usually you're not hitting 10 gold until the round of or the round after the first carousel. If you're panicking because you can't find any sort of units that work together early game, just try and find 2 brawlers. You'll definitely find a Warwick, a Blitzcrank, a RekSai, something like that. Throw 2 of them in front, put 2 carries in the back, Varus, Tristana, Vayne, Ashe, any sort of ranged unit, put him in the back and you won't do that bad. In these sort of comps, you want to take your shitty early game carry, like a level 2 Kassadin, and stack him with a ton of items that makes people very angry when they face him. And then, as soon as he starts to fall off in power, you're selling him anyways to put it all on Volibear. Some games, you're gonna notice, your win streaking, maybe 5+ win streak, and your health's high, and you can look at every other person's board and you can see their gold, and in situations like this, you need to be able to know when you can hard econ. And by that I mean saving up to 50 gold and staying there. And it's not that often. You're only doing this when you have a lot of health, a good win streak, or a very good comp for your level. If I manage to hit at level 5, let's say 4 brawlers, and I even get ChoGath and let's say Khazix to finish off a Void passive, that might be a situation where I hard econ. But even then, if I check other boards and I see multiple people who have all in all of their gold, they're getting 0 income, I will start rolling to try and hit something like Volibear 2, maybe level up to 6, just do something to stop the incoming damage. By the time you're hitting the level 6 and level 7, you should have a pretty good idea of your comp. At that point, you really want to have 4 brawlers, and it is quite easy to have 4 brawlers. The other 3 units are other 2 or 3 units are pretty malleable, but 3 assassins is probably what you want to go for. You can also fit in 3 elementalists or whatever fits in your comp. If things are looking well, you can last all the way to 50 gold, but I wouldn't spend more than a few turns there before spending just to get more power, to start pushing other people out of the game and lowering the chance that you're going to get a big hit of damage coming in. I like to reroll a lot at 7 in the current meta to try and hit stuff like Akali 2 or Sejuani 2 before I actually invest the gold to level up and put the unit in. Even if it won't fit, I'll still try and roll and hit it because there's a lot of people looking for something like Akali right now, and getting those rolls in just a few rounds earlier can make the difference. Now, the number one thing that's going to help you get an edge, especially in low elo where a lot of people, pretty much everyone does this wrong, is items. Now, the first carousel doesn't matter too much. Don't worry too much about it. If you can grab a bow, you're in a great spot. Spatula is also pretty close second. Other than that, just try and grab anything that isn't a tier. That's kind of my only. Tier and chain vest are pretty bad. Bow is the best. That's kind of how I go. During your creep rounds, you pray based on what you first got that you get a finishing component. If you started with a bow, you hope to get another bow for rapid fire cannon. If you started with a belt or a rod or something, you hope to get something that lets you make either Zeke's, Locket, or Ionic Spark. And the priority for those items, in my mind, is Ionic Spark number 1, Zeke's number 2, Locket number 3. Now that you have your initial starting game items and your level 3 comp, maybe level 4 comp, you're going to want to choose one unit in the comp that you know for sure, no matter what you're selling. Usually a 1 cost makes it easier because they sell for full price even at level 2. My personal favorite carries are probably Kassadin, Fiora, Zed, Varus, Aatrox, Morgana, but other stuff can do as well. And you basically want to stack your finished items and your unfinished items onto one unit without, completing any unnecessary items. And then the other units in your comp are basically just tanks. This is one thing that makes Brawlers so good. Their high HP is just such a wall for your unit with it. The items, especially if it's something like a Zed in the back, can really just do all of the damage for you that round. If you have shitty items like a bunch of rods or a bunch of belts or something like that, you can make kind of less efficient but still okay band-aid items like a Hextech Gunblade or Warmogs that will still give you enough power to not get slaughtered early game and are slightly usable late game, though it is a bit of a minus. Tear is the worst item you can get, but it can still early game be built into a Seraph's, which you will need late game for your Akali, or you can build a Spear Shojin or Ludens and still have a decent early game power. If you get an early Volibear, or actually whenever you hit Volibear, or if you manage to hit Z2 instead first, you want to consolidate all of your best carry items on them, rapid fire cannon on both for sure, and if you can at that point, if you keep going in the game, you keep noticing items you're not getting any bows, that is the one situation I won't pick Volibear. With 0 bows, you can't go Volibear, and I'll start to go for a demon, straight up glacial comp, elementalist, assassin, something else. Not getting bows is the time you wish you knew how to play Yordles. Now, the ideal Volibear items are always rapid fire cannon, and then kind of personal preference. I like Phantom Dancer and Warmogs the most, though a lot of people also like Red Buff or Dragon Claw. The on-hit silence or disarm items are also, or Shrink Blade, though I don't usually build these. Late game from Raptors and Wolves, you're going to get another wave of probably 3 or 4 items, and hopefully you can use these to make tank items, your Warmogs, your Thornmail, your Dragon Claw that are going on your Akali, also Seraphs for Akali, and maybe finishing off your last carry items. Or late game, Zeke's Herald still works, but Locket at this point, definitely not. And Ionic Spark, every team needs an Ionic Spark. Every team. The only people that don't need Ionic Spark is 6 Assassins, because they just kill everything too fast. But everyone else, Ionic Spark. The last thing, and it doesn't really matter too much for brawlers, and you can see a lot of examples of this if you go to my VODs on Twitch, is how to position in the Assassin Brawler comp. It's pretty easy usually to go against the back row with your Assassins, Akali in one corner, Zeke's Herald, your aura buff items on an Assassin always, and your Volibear with his ranged attack surrounded by a circle of brawlers and maybe a Sejuani or a Braum. So that's pretty much it. That's my general tips for how I got to Masters using, Brawler Assassins, how you can kind of emulate that yourself. And if you have any questions, just leave them below. And follow my Twitch and like this for more of the same shit. Also, fuck Yordles. Fuck you if you run Yordles. Smile.